My dad walked out when I was 6 years old. No goodbye, no birthday cards, no phone calls, nothing. My mom worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. She never spoke badly about him. She'd only say, "One day you'll understand." Honestly, I hated hearing that. There was nothing to understand. To me, he chose a different life, and he chose it without me. By the time I turned 27, I had accepted that I'd probably never see him again. Then, 2 weeks before my wedding, I got a message on Facebook. It was from him, just 6 words. "Can we please talk? Just once." I stared at that message for almost an hour. Every memory I'd buried came rushing back. The school plays where every other kid had a dad in the audience. The Father's Day projects I'd pretend not to care about. The birthdays I'd secretly hope he'd remember. He never did. I ignored the message. The day of my wedding arrived. Everything was perfect. Until I looked toward the back of the ceremony. There he was, older, gray hair, standing quietly near the exit, like he didn't even expect to be welcomed. I was furious. After the ceremony, I walked straight over to him. Before he could say a word, I asked him, "Why now?" He reached into his jacket and handed me a thick envelope. Inside were dozens of letters. Every birthday, every Christmas, every graduation, every major moment of my life. He had written me a letter, but none of them had ever been mailed. I looked at him and said, "If you cared, why didn't you send them?" His eyes filled with tears. He told me something I'd never heard before. My mom hadn't left him. He hadn't abandoned us. He had been diagnosed with a severe addiction after a work injury. He spiraled, lost his job, lost everything. He believed I deserved a better childhood than one spent watching him destroy himself. So he disappeared, planning to come back once he got better. But shame turned months into years, then years into decades. Every time he thought about reaching out, he convinced himself I'd be happier without him. I didn't know what to believe. So that night, I asked my mom. She sat silently for a long time. Then she nodded. She said, "He made terrible choices, but one thing he never stopped doing was loving you." I cried harder than I had all day. Not because it erased the pain. It didn't. You can't replace 20 years. But for the first time, I understood the difference between someone who doesn't love you and someone who lets their own mistakes convince them they don't deserve to be in your life. We didn't magically become a perfect family. Trust takes time. Some wounds never fully disappear. But today, we have dinner together every Sunday. And my future children will know the grandfather I never got to have. Because sometimes healing doesn't begin with forgetting the past. It begins with finally hearing the whole story.